Hello, good morning. Welcome to Gaming Insight Daily for Friday, April 4th, 2025. I'm Steve Saylor. This is your daily show of gaming news, accessibility news, or updates about my life. I have mocha coffee in my PlayStation mug today. A little bit of history on this one. Actually, I got this at PlayStation. I did a sort of a talk there not last year, and I got to go to the company store, is what they call it, and they had a PlayStation themed mug there. So I was like, yeah, I like it. It's blue. It's got a cork bottom, and yeah, it's great. It feels like I haven't done an episode in a couple of days, because technically I haven't. If you missed this week was kind of a lot of Nintendo Switch related news. So obviously with the episode on Wednesday was technically the live reaction to the Switch 2 announcement, but then the actual bonus episode was the Switch 2 accessibility announcements, which if you haven't watched that video, I'll leave a link in the description for you to be able to check out if you missed it. And then yesterday's episode was technically the South of Midnight review that I will also link in the description if you missed that. Mainly because I still had to be able to put together the review, and recording an episode and then having to be able to edit the review, I couldn't be able to have it out in embargo time if I did that. So I opted to, that'll be like the South of Midnight would be the video for yesterday. So I hope that's okay. Kind of disrupted a little bit of the flow of episodes that we normally do, but we're back in it again. And it sucks to basically have to take another 2 days off because it's the weekend, and we'll come back again on Monday, but we're here. We're doing stuff. That's basically the housekeeping. Is if you haven't checked out the two videos I put up about the Switch 2's accessibility and also the South of Midnight accessibility review, you can be able to check that out. Again, just links in the description down below. Now, amidst all of the Nintendo Switch 2 news, I could have done a roundup of all the news we may have missed from the Direct, or just from people who have already played it, because there was a big media event in New York City this week where a lot of media folks within the gaming industry got to be able to go and check out the Switch 2 and all the games that were announced. I think pretty much almost all of them. Like there was a lot of games. Actually, I had more than I expected just for looking at the footage of everyone's playtime. It's like it was everything from Cyberpunk to Dragon Drive to, I didn't even expect Metroid Prime 4 to be available to play, and it was. So, and I'm curious to be able to check out all of this stuff. There is an experience coming to Toronto that I'm hoping I could be able to get access to. We'll see. I don't know. There's a whole thing. I've got my request in. Who knows? But we shall see, and hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood, I'll be able to get my hands on all that, and I could be able to get hands on with accessibility for that as well. But with all the Switch 2 news, the biggest kind of, I don't want to say controversy, or the biggest negativity news around it is in regards to price. So that's the kind of the stories we're going to be talking about today. And this kind of the answer, we're going to try to answer the question that IGN posted basically as their article from Simon Cardy. Does the price of the Switch 2 overshadow its reveal? Again, Simon Cardy over at IGN. There's no denying the excitement of a new console reveal, and Nintendo certainly delivered when it came to the new graphical capabilities of the Switch 2, despite still no sign of a new 3D Mario game. It's been almost 8 years since Super Mario Odyssey. Why must my pain continue? That's Simon from this. I love that. We got the open world Mario Kart world, the return of Donkey Kong to the limelight, and a pseudo successor to Bloodborne in the shape of the Dust Bloods. But one aspect of the reveal has overshadowed everything: the price. Not necessarily just the console itself. $449.99 isn't an outrageous cost for a piece of new technology in 2025. We'll get into that. But the amount of money it will take to buy the games and accessories to enjoy Switch 2 to its fullest. So is the price of admission to Nintendo's new toys really too high? Let's take a look. Many headlines have been written about the $80 price tag of Mario Kart World. It's certainly an eye-opener in an age when we are used to $60 or $70 being the norm. The knee-jerk reaction is to say that it's too much, and Nintendo is squeezing us for every penny, as it knows the one game everyone will want at launch. Throw in another set of Joy-Cons if you want to play with friends and family, and that'll be another $90. Want people from across the world to join you? A non-inexpensive Nintendo Online membership is required. It all tots up It's British talk. It all tots up, and when the reveal trailer was so focused on 24-player co-op and the ability to roam around its world with friends, taking advantage of the new game chat and photo mode features, it's hard to not think it's all a bit cynical. Of course, the counter argument is that it presents good value for money in terms of dollars to hours of enjoyment. World will likely be the only Mario Kart game to be released on the Nintendo Switch 2. That is true. I actually do agree with that. I think that this will probably be the only Mario Kart game that will be released, and they probably will maybe release like some booster packs like they did with the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe near the end, where they had a bunch of new tracks and stuff like that. Mario Kart 8's decade-long lifetime is anything to go by. Is $80 a reasonable amount to charge for a game that will likely provide many years of enjoyment? In an age where free-to-play games such as Fortnite are now the norm, have our perspectives of value for money have been skewed. Imagine someone who puts as many hours into Fortnite over a 5-year period as a Mario Kart player will likely spend $80 on battle passes and skins. Yes, these examples are apples to oranges, but in a time when a cinema trip for the whole family can cost $80 for 2 hours of animated slop, a decade of Mario Kart doesn't seem too bad. Granted, Donkey Kong Bonanza is listed at a cheaper $69.99 price tag, so maybe this is a case of Nintendo knowing they can ask for what they want for Mario Kart, one of the planet's most popular game series, but it does set a worrying precedent, and with the Switch 2 versions of Kirby and the Forgotten Land and the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom both also costing $80, the strategy is a little baffling. For a company like Nintendo, which has always appeared player first and generous in its offerings, it raises the question of whether other game publishers will follow in the footsteps of these inflated game prices. GTA 6, we're all looking at you. It also turns the attention to how generational leaps between consoles will go in the future when it comes to the cost of upgrading older games. PlayStation has been doing this for years, consistently offering $10 upgrades to some of its PS4 games, making the jump to PS5, with Days Gone doing exactly that later this month. The price for enhanced versions of Switch games on the Switch 2 is yet to be revealed, though. If it's same as Sony charges, then I doubt there will be much of an outcry. $10 for enough superior frame rate, greater resolution in 4K, and even extra gameplay additions isn't a bad deal. But if it's $20 or $30, I'm not sure I'll be investing in many of these upgrades. For example, you can currently buy Tears of the Kingdom on Amazon for $52, a whole $28 less than the Switch 2 edition will cost. Surely the upgrade won't be quite that much. The difference is even starker in the UK, where it's currently £45 for the Switch version, but £75 for Switch 2. The MSRP for the original Switch version of Tears of the Kingdom is $70, so that does mean the upgrade will be just $10. If that's the case, why not just buy a Switch copy from Amazon and get the upgrade pack for another $10? Saving you yourself another $20 in the process. Of course, this is all speculation, but the only indicator we have so far is the enhanced version of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom being available as part of a Nintendo Online Plus expansion pack membership, of which the cost is currently $49.99 a year. Assuming that the price doesn't get raised in the next 2 months, I wouldn't be hugely surprised if it does at some point, though. Netflix currently charges me $4 million in the soul of my firstborn just to watch Love is Blind. An upgraded Zelda as part of that isn't the worst deal in the world, but what happens if I cancel my membership? Do I have to go back to playing 1080p, slightly framey Zelda until I resub? These are all questions that need answering. Now, I won't talk about the Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, but which is basically they're charging $7 for it, but that's another issue as well. So, Simon brings up some very good points in that we are looking at a much more expensive Switch than we expected. Even I expected, because I even said the two things Nintendo is going to try to do: better battery life and make it as cheaper as possible. Granted, it is cheaper than other consoles at launch, but I think it depends on which country you're in. Because if you think about it, $499 is cheaper than the $599 price for the PS5 when that came out. In Canada, though, we're looking at $629 for the standard edition and $699 for the Mario Kart World Edition. Now, when you look at the price for Canadian for PS5 when that launched, it was $649 for the disc version and $500 and something, I think $519 for the digital version. So already we're looking at a much more expensive console than even its counterparts. Do I think that does it overshadow the reveal? No, because I think that the Switch 2, with everything that they've got, hardware and software that's coming up, I think it is worth the value. That's the thing I'll have to say. It's not that I don't think the price is worth the value. It is still like a sticker shock in regards to price. I had hoped that it would be around the sort of the $3.99 or cheaper mark, because then that would hopefully be about $4.99 or maybe $5.29 Canadian, and we're looking at about $100 more than that, if $150 more than that. So will this prevent people from buying the Switch 2? No. We're still gonna. There's gonna be a lot of people who are still gonna pre-order it. We're upset that the price is that much, but it's like, hey, we're gonna pay for it anyway, so might as well. And I think that is what I think. Well, yeah, I think actually probably the main sort of people with the hesitation that people will have when buying the Switch 2, especially will come around the holidays, is in regards to families. Families now, like with everything happening, we'll just kind of bring in the sort of what is happening in the world with inflation and a looming recession basically on the horizon, or if not already here. A lot of families are basically having to figure out what they can afford and what they can't. And it's not about necessarily that it's like, oh, if you're gonna waste your money on a Switch 2 when you technically should have been spending it on food for the month. I'm not saying that. Like if you are that careless with money, that's your problem. But I think that a lot of the discretional spending that people would have, that families may have, would probably be used elsewhere than buying a Switch 2. Granted, Nintendo has introduced new opportunities for so that you don't have to buy a Switch 2 for every member of the household. You can be able to, like at least for games, so that you can share games. You can lend them out for 2 weeks in between consoles, as long as you're in the same sort of family plan. Like and the virtual cards essentially can be shared between people, so that you don't have to buy the individual games for 5 people to play Mario Kart together. It can be one copy that's shared across all the different Switches. So you have that. And I think that's great. I think that's a great way to be able to have families be able to play together instead of just having to be able to buy individual copies of each game. But when it comes to looking at that price, especially in Canada, like $600 is a lot to spend. $700 is a lot to spend for a console when the Switch is basically still viable. It still works for a lot of folks. And they are still going to be releasing games for the Switch, for at least for this foreseeable future. We haven't. I don't think that they're going to be canceling that. Like even they said that essentially there's some games that were just announced last week that are going to be available on the original Switch, including the new Metroid Prime 4. So there is that. And it's not like you're going to be able to not play any of the games. Like you could still play all the games that have been released before the Switch 2. At one point, that Nintendo will start to kind of phase out Switch releases and original Switch 1 releases and go and focus solely on the Switch 2. But we also have to take into account that this may not have been Nintendo's idea of what the price they wanted. We have to take into account, and we've talked, and it's been talked about in the game industry, and I hate to sort of bring in the politics of this of it, but tariffs. They are going to play a huge factor in producing new, basically Switch hardware, and at a cost that is viable for Nintendo. It's not Nintendo's not trying to be able to like price gouge anybody. It's just the cost of unfortunately doing business with a tariff-filled world. Because they actually moved their production from China to Taiwan. It was either Taiwan or Vietnam to avoid tariffs. And now with the new Liberation Day tariffs on both Taiwan and Vietnam, it's still going to have effect. I think that that's also why that the price was never revealed in the Switch 2 Direct, but it was in the press release afterwards. Because I fully believe that they were trying to figure out what that price was going to be right up until when they had to put the press release out. And by that point, because the price wasn't like they hadn't locked in a price, I would be willing to bet that they locked in the direct, the Switch 2 Direct, like as far as editing, and it was done, that they couldn't just add that in. It's not as simple as adding that in, because you have to remember, it's not just one video file that they're playing. There's multiple different languages that they have to get translated. There's captions and stuff like that for Japanese translations. Like it's a lot that has to be done instead of just an insert of a 10-second and here's the price. So tariffs are definitely having a big part of that, and that's going to affect a lot of gaming peripherals going forward. Like even if you look at even yesterday, Power GPU, a respected PC PC OEM manufacturer. They basically still take parts from other different companies, and they kind of make PCs for folks, kind of like an Origin PC, or like our main gear, or iBuyPower, that kind of thing. They've actually had to come out and say, hey, we have to increase prices for our parts, because it's gonna, like, that's just cost of doing business with tariffs. It's just that's gonna be the case, and tech is gonna be a little bit more expensive for the next little while. And the Switch 2 is basically that kind of the first unfortunate casualty of that. Do I think that it's going to come down in price at some point? Sure. Would it potentially come down maybe around Black Friday or around the holidays? Yeah, maybe. But I don't know. It's too soon to tell. And with everything that's happening in the world, a lot of economic sort of everything is put on hold because of just no one knows what's going to happen with these tariffs and everything. And I know that people are upset. I'm upset too. The fact that I have to pay $700 for a new console is not something that I want to pay right now. I need the money. I need the money in order to be able to pay rent and to pay buy for food and have a roof over my head so I can keep doing what I'm doing. And when work is also scarce too, like I have to basically prioritize what I can be able to afford and not afford. I'm hoping I can be able to afford. I'm going to put a pre-order in, and hopefully come June when the credit card is about to be charged, I'm gonna have enough to be able to do it. And I would hate to cancel if that's the case. But it is an expense, and but for me, it's a little bit different than necessarily just buying it for pleasure. It is part of the business, so I do think that will have to be taken into account more than just basically what my current finances are. So that does weigh heavily on me. It's like, okay, do I spend the money to be able to for a business expense, basically to create content and to talk about the accessibility of the Switch 2 from a hands-on experience, or do I basically just skip it and miss out on that potential content? That's something I have to weigh in a little bit more than just necessarily, oh, I'm buying it because I want it. So I'm upset too. I'm upset that it's going to cost $630 or $700 for that, and the games are not also helping either. I think that is honestly, I think, the thing that's overshadowing the price of the Switch 2. Not necessarily the Switch 2, the hardware itself. It's the confusion about what is going to cost what. If Mario Kart 8 and Zelda is going to cost $80, whereas Donkey Kong is going to cost $70. By the way, this is all US pricing. If you want to know, $70 Canadian is basically, we're looking at about $89.99 Canadian, so $90 Canadian. And now with this new $80 price tag, we're now looking at $100 per game for Nintendo Switch 2. And if basically you buy 3 or 4 of them, you're basically paying for about 3/4 of the price of the console, which is a lot for 3 or 4 games. So what was I saying? So yes, the cost, like that confusion in the market is going to be probably, I think, a problem that Nintendo will face, especially when it comes to families, because they're probably thinking, all games are going to be $70 or $60 to $70, but in reality, there's some going to be 80, some going to be 70, some going to be 60. Like it's causing a lot of confusion within the marketplace. And when we're talking about also GTA 6, the rumor of that going to be releasing at $100, which I hope it's not. I mean, the prices were inevitably going to go up anyway. They've been the same prices since the 90s. Now, granted, you'd say, oh, with inflation, the cost would have been a lot more than what we're paying for now. And yes, there is a argument to be said about that. However, it does not change the fact that it's still expensive. And I think Paris Lily even said this in a tweet. It's like, we don't want this hobby to become elitist, in that it's going to only, like, the only people who can afford it are the people who have the money. we want to be able to have kids and families be able to grow up with video games, because video games are amazing. And right now it's the social hub for kids to be able to hang out. And it's a kind of an example from my childhood that I remember. It's like, hey, if your friends are basically they all have Air Jordan shoes and you don't because your family can't afford it, that there is that sort of shame and stigma of you're poor, you can't afford an Air Jordan, and that's going to potentially could be the same thing with video games. And I don't want that to be. I want people to be able to play video games however they want, and on whatever platform they want. I want that openness of the video game industry, but with the harsh reality of, hey, we need money in order to be able to make it. We're not even talking about those like CEOs that are price gouging stuff or whatever, like or are making like $1 billion mistakes, and basically the workers are the ones to blame and not them. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about like just the cost of being able to do business in this inflation recession type situation, and with the tariffs as well. That all factors in. Does it suck? Yes. Is there anything that Nintendo could do about it? Viably, no. They're still a business at the end of the day. They still need they still need to make money to be able to appease their shareholders, to also to be able to make games and to keep going as a company. Not to say that Nintendo's going to go bankrupt anytime soon. They're definitely not. And I would be willing to bet that Nintendo Switch 2 is going to outsell the Switch probably at some point. And I'm saying that is with the Switch being currently, they've sold over 150 million units. Do I think it's going to reach that? I don't know. But I definitely think it's going to pre-sell a lot. And it's the pre-orders and the day one or month one sales is going to skyrocket. Yes, I do fully believe that. So is it Nintendo's fault that these prices are what they are? Sure, to a certain degree. But like I said, it's the cost of doing business, and I think that it's not sort of we have to suck it up and deal with it. It's what we're gonna have to, if we want to continue to keep playing these games. This is an unfortunate cost of doing that, and I'm not gonna be a happy camper about it. I'll say that. But again, I think to go back to the original question that Simon Cardy asked in this article, does the price of the Switch 2 overshadow its reveal? No. It's an unfortunate side effect of it, but I think the Switch 2 hardware, software is looking to be probably one of the best games lineup for a launch year that rivals the original Switch back in 2017. So I think that we have amazing games that are going to be coming up, from everything from Dusk Bloods from Software to Donkey Kong Bonanza to Metroid Prime 4 to whatever the new Mario or Zelda game is going to be. We are going to, like, gamers are going to have a great year. If that and the GTA 6 comes out in the same year, gamers are living large. We are feeding extremely well, and I think that that's awesome. Will 2025 look back and we'll look at it back at the end of the year and say, yeah, this was a good year for games, potentially, and the Switch 2 is definitely going to be a big part of that. So, anyway, I want to know the answer to that question from you. Does the price of the Switch 2 overshadow its reveal? Is that something that you're concerned about? Are you going to be picking up the Switch 2 on pre-orders when they happen on April 9th? Which is finally confirmed, even in Canada. Do you think, or is it too expensive for you to be able to afford right now? Let me know in the comments down below. That's going to be the only story we're going to talk about today, because, it's kind of the big topic of conversation, and I want to be able to make sure that I can be able to do these topics of conversation, and I appreciate your thoughts on that too. So that is going to be it for today's episode. I want to thank you for basically being with me this week as I've been trying to be able to put out some great content. I love the fact that I've been able to sort of put out new videos almost pretty much on a daily basis at this point, if not, on a daily basis. So I've been really happy with the new folks have been coming in from some great videos that I've been able to put out. I'm really thankful for you to be able to continue to keep growing this channel. We're finally seeing some growth here over years of being flat for a while. I'm just so happy that y'all are here. So I really do appreciate it, and I thank you very much for it. Yeah, that's gonna be it for me. Take care. Have yourself a great day and a great weekend, and I'll see you all on Monday. Take care. Bye-bye.